Chris Lynch Local News with Boxman, Christchurch's flexible self-storage solution. Convenient door-to-door container delivery. Boxman, affordable storage at your place or ours.
And Christopher Luxon joins me as he does every fortnight. Hello to you, good to see you.
G'day Chris, good to be with you.
How is it that Oranga staff are finding it so challenging to get youths off roofs of justice facilities? And the only way to do that now is to reward them with McDonalds and KFC. Once again, this has happened in Auckland. It happened in Christchurch a week ago. This is just not a good look.
No, it's not. And I think Calvin Davis really isn't on top of what's actually happening there. And it just keeps happening time to time again. What we really want to see is, serious young offenders having a classification that judges can use, and to be able to send these young people into youth military academies where we really genuinely make pretty powerful, targetable interventions in their lives to sort of get them back on the right track. And clearly what's happening isn't kind of working when this is the sort of behaviour that happens. And at the end of the day, people get bribed to come down with KFC and McDonald's. Doesn't feel right. It's
a terrible, appalling look when you've got it now happening in Auckland and first in Christchurch. Mongrel Mob lifetime member Harry Tam over the weekend isn't a fan of yours, is he? Isn't a fan of National. He said as much so on social media over the weekend. I don't suppose you're hurting over this or losing much sleep?
Well, I think it's just the greatest endorsement for Labour's soft on crime policies, really, isn't it? I mean, when gang members are coming out saying they want to avoid us getting elected, and let's be clear, they're probably quite a big voting bloc, actually, 8,500 gang members plus families on top. It's got to be probably 20,000 votes, sitting there doing that. But the bottom line's this. I mean, I don't really care about Harry Tam. The bottom line's gangs want all the rights of being Kiwis, but they won't take the responsibilities. And so we're gonna tackle gangs big time. It's just not right.
Why do you think Harry Tam's not a fan of National?
Well, he knows that we're going to be tougher on crime, and he knows we're going to be tough on the gangs. We're going to ban gang patches. We're going to break them up and give police dispersal powers to break them up from intimidating behaviour. We're going to make sure it's an aggravating factor with respect to sentencing. We're going to give them warrantless search powers to be able to go after illegal guns. So there's a lot of things that are going to be tough for gangs under a national government, and we make no apologies about that.
The Green Party says it should have a limit on how much landlords can increase the rents by every year. Is it a good or a bad move?
Look, I think the Greens are just economically illiterate, to be honest with you. I mean, already you've had a situation where the Bright Line test has been extended, interest deductibility has been taken away, and now they want to impose rent controls. And the problem is that economists all around the world sort of say, well, rent controls have never really worked. They don't work. And the problem that we've got is that we haven't got enough supply of private properties in the private rental market. And just remember, over 70% of the investors are actually mum and dad investors that have one or two rental properties. So, again, it's a big disincentive for people to be able to put rental properties into the market, which we desperately need them to do. And that's partly why, rents are up $175 a week under this government. And I've met people in emergency accommodation whose rent went up $50, largely on the back of Bright Line and also the interest deductibility being taken away, and all of a sudden find themselves in a motel. So I just think that they're thinking it through very clearly as to how to solve that part of the market. I would also like to see...
But then again, they have acknowledged a problem though, haven't they? Because as you've just pointed out, that you've just said that rents are going up astronomically. So they may not have the best way to do it, but it seems they're well intended because rents across New Zealand are so unaffordable at the moment, particularly even here in Christchurch.
Yeah, absolutely. Rents are up, as I said, $175. But the government was advised by its own officials, do not extend the Bright Line test, do not remove interest deductibility because it's going to add cost to tenants. To landlords, which then ends up leading to higher rents for tenants, and so that's been a contributing factor to that rental market. I also think there's products that we need to open up from overseas. Overseas, you have products called rent to build. A joint venture comes in, builds a building that lasts 100 years. You have long-term tenancies. They can exist at 6 to 7% type returns for those investors. And people have certainty as well. And I think we need to open up, and have some innovation in the market as well in that space.
The fuel subsidy is a golden burger. Would National bring it back?
No, I mean, we wouldn't have got there in the first place because we would have managed the underlying causes of inflation. And essentially what we're seeing from the government is band-aid economics. And, then when you put the band-aid on, you've got to rip it off. And that's what they did this week. But I mean, also it's a bit cynical, to be honest, because Grant Robertson actually knew in his heart, back at the end of last year that it needed to be phased out and had a plan to say it was going to be phased out earlier in this year. But of course, Chris Hipkins got elected Prime Minister and some cynical politics took place where he decided to extend it for another 6 months. And the problem with that is it's cost $800 million and then our roads aren't being maintained and a whole bunch of other things. So our view very clearly is, look, let's give people proper tax relief, and then that's an enduring, sustainable, long-term way by inflation adjusting tax thresholds where they keep the money in their pocket and they can navigate the cost increases that they are experiencing, while we work very hard to get the underlying causes of inflation sorted and get inflation down.
I can't think of a time or a period in this lifetime where it's been so expensive to just live. And I think to myself, well, how do those who are the most vulnerable in our society, how can they even get to work with the cost of fuel?
Yeah, and that's why I want to give everyone, we want to have tax relief, because, if you're on an average income and you get $800 a year, and you and your partner get, $1,600 a year, and then we able to get you the family boost, tax rebate subsidy for childcare, $3,900 a year. All of a sudden, you got $5,500 in your household that actually you can use to navigate this. But the big issue, as you and I have talked before, Chris, is the government hasn't dealt with the underlying causes of inflation. Don't pass cost to business to lead to higher prices. Make sure we free up the productive economy with immigration settings and get rid of red tape. Go line item by line item through that $137 billion. Give people tax relief and get the Reserve Bank focused on a single goal of inflation under 3% again. When we do that, we lower inflation, we lower interest rates, we then get the economy out of recession into growth, and we avoid the risk of rising unemployment.